I've cut you off, old man. My son's voice dripped with cold triumph through the phone. Your cards are dead? Your accounts are frozen. You'll beg me for your next meal. He thought he held all the power. He had no idea that for the past 3 years, he had been living in a house I owned, and his eviction notice was already in the mail. The first sign of the cataclysm to come was a simple electronic beep. I was at Miller's Grocery, the kind of old-fashioned market where they still know your name, buying ingredients for my famous beef stew, Mrs. Henderson. The cashier, who'd been working there since my son was in diapers, smiled as she rang up the chuck roast, carrots, and onions. I swiped my platinum card, a symbol of a lifetime of building, striving and succeeding. Beep declined. A flicker of confusion crossed her face. "Oh, these machines," she chuckled nervously. "Let's try that again, Mr. Lockwood." She swiped it once more, slower this time. The same sharp, accusatory beep. The red light on the card reader blinked, a tiny, malevolent eye. A cold knot tightened in my stomach. This was not a machine error. This was a systemic failure of a different kind. "Perhaps you have another card?" she suggested, her voice now a careful whisper. The line behind me was growing, and I could feel the heat of their collective gaze. I pulled out my backup card, the black one reserved for absolute emergencies, the one linked to my deepest, most secure reserves. My hand was steady, a testament to a lifetime of facing crises, but my heart was a frantic drum against my ribs. Beep declined. The sound was final. It was the sound of a door slamming shut. "I'm so sorry, sir," Mrs. Henderson said, her eyes full of a pity that was more humiliating than the decline itself. I left the groceries on the counter, a small, profound surrender. "I'll be back," I mumbled, a hollow promise to no one. The walk to my car, a stately Lexus that spoke of quiet success, felt like a mile. I was Arthur Lockwood, 68 years old, retired founder and CEO of Lockwood Industries, a man who had navigated recessions, corporate espionage, and international trade wars. And I had just been publicly brought to my knees by a piece of plastic. Inside the car, the silence was deafening. I tried the banking app on my phone. "Error, unable to load account. Information." I called the private client service number, a direct line to a human being who had always addressed me with deference. A recorded message informed me the number was no longer in service. The cold trickle of dread became a torrent. This was targeted. This was personal. My next stop was the First Mercantile Bank, an institution of marble and mahogany that had served my family for generations. I was immediately ushered past the velvet ropes into the office of David Chun, a senior vice president with whom I'd shared many a business lunch. "Arthur," he began, his face a mask of professional regret that didn't quite reach his eyes. "Please have a seat." "David, cut the crap," I said, my voice low and tight. "What is happening to my accounts?" He steepled his fingers, a gesture I recognized from countless negotiations. "Arthur, we've received a formal petition. Under the Family Financial Protection Act, a concerned family member can file for a temporary protective order if they believe the account holder is exhibiting signs of financial imprudence." The air left my lungs. "Financial imprudence?" I repeated, the words tasting like ash. "David, I built a multi-million-dollar company from a $5,000 loan." Who would file this?" He didn't need to answer. The truth was already coiling in the pit of my stomach, cold and venomous. "Mark," I whispered. "My son, my only child." The petition was filed by Mark Lockwood. "Yes," David confirmed, finally meeting my gaze. His eyes held no sympathy, only the cool assessment of risk. He provided documentation. Letters from a Dr. Evans suggesting potential cognitive decline. Records of what he termed unexplained and excessive charitable donations. "Dr. Evans is our family friend." And those donations were to the city's new youth center, in his mother's memory. I was on my feet, the rage a white-hot flame. "This is not a protection, David. This is a coup. The law requires we comply during the review process, Arthur. It's for your own good." He spread his hands in a gesture of helplessness that was utterly infuriating. "The review can take up to 30 days. 30 days? The number was a life sentence. I have payroll for my household staff, property taxes, automated investments. You're crippling me. We can approve essential living expenses, he said, as if offering a great concession. You'll just need to submit itemized receipts for food and utilities. I stared at him, this man I had considered an ally, and saw only a functionary, a gatekeeper for my own personal prison. The betrayal was so profound it was almost a physical pain. I had spent a lifetime building an empire of trust and stability, and in one afternoon my own flesh and blood had revealed it to be a house of cards. I left the bank with the contents of my wallet $412. A fortune to some, a pittance to the life I led. The drive home to my spacious, beautifully appointed house was a blur. The home I had shared with my wife Eleanor for 40 years. The home from which we had buried her, taken by a swift and cruel cancer 2 years prior. The emptiness of it now felt absolute. Mark had not just frozen my accounts. He had isolated me in a gilded cage of my own making. I poured 2 fingers of a fine Kentucky bourbon, but the rich, oaky taste brought no comfort. And I waited. I knew the call would come. This was a negotiation, and Mark, whom I had taught everything I knew about leverage, would want to dictate terms from the position of strength. The phone rang at 7:08 p.m. His timing, as always, was impeccable. "Father?" His voice was calm, smooth, the voice he used when he was most dangerous. "Mark," I kept my tone flat, a blank canvas. "I assume you've had a difficult day," he began, the feigned concern a thin veneer over his gloating. "What is your end game?" I cut through the pretense. "What do you hope to achieve with this?" "Betrayal?" "Betrayal?" He had the gall to laugh. "This is an intervention, Father. A necessary one. You've become soft, sentimental, those massive donations, the questionable investments in that tech startup. You're eroding my inheritance. You're jeopardizing the Lockwood legacy." "The Lockwood legacy?" My voice was dangerously quiet. "I am the Lockwood legacy. I built it from nothing. It is not your inheritance to protect from me. It is my life's work to bestow upon you. When and if I see fit, your judgment is compromised." "Father," he said, his voice hardening, "this is a temporary measure. The protection order will be lifted the moment you sign the papers granting me power of attorney and control of the trust. You'll be taken care of. You can putter in your garden, read your books. You'll be comfortable." "An allowance," I said. "The word a brand on my soul? You would make me a beggar in my own life." "It's for the best," he said, his finality absolute. "Think about it. You have 30 days. Call me when you're ready to be reasonable." The line went dead. I sat in the deepening twilight, the ice in my glass melting, diluting the expensive bourbon. The initial, blinding rage began to cool and harden into something else, a diamond core of resolve. Mark had made a fatal strategic error. He had assumed power resided in the liquid assets, the flow of capital. He saw the river and thought he could control it by building a dam. He failed to understand that I owned the entire watershed. I rose and walked to my study, to the heart of my home. Behind a false section of my bookshelf, hidden behind a collection of leather-bound classics, was a digital safe. I keyed in the code. The door clicked open. Inside, alongside Eleanor's favorite pearl necklace and my father's old pocket watch, were 2 things: a stack of $100 bills and several gold coins, my escape fund, a habit from a more volatile time. But more importantly, there was a slim, encrypted hard drive. It contained the complete architectural blueprint of my empire. Not the public-facing corporations, but the bedrock, the land, the patents, the silent, powerful trusts. I plugged it into my computer. With a few clicks, I pulled up the file for Crestview Properties, a discreet, private holding company, and within its portfolio was the deed for a beautiful, newly renovated craftsman home in the sought-after Hillcrest neighborhood, the home my son and his wife, Lisa, had lived in for the past 3 years, the home they believed they were renting from an out-of-state investor, a fantastic deal secured through Mark's shrewd negotiation. They had no idea the out-of-state investor was me. A grim, cold smile finally touched my lips. Mark wanted to teach me about power. He was about to learn that true power isn't about controlling the money. It's about controlling the ground beneath your enemy's feet. He had turned off the taps, but I was the one who could pull the entire foundation out from under him. The War Council was convened the next morning in the back room of a quiet, unassuming cafe. Across the table from me sat two people. The first was Benjamin Carter, my attorney for 35 years, a bulldog of a man with a razor-sharp mind and unwavering loyalty. The second was a woman, Dr. Anna Reed, a respected neurologist and the director of the memory care clinic where I had made the excessive donation in Eleanor's name. Mark has been clever, Benjamin began, stirring his black coffee. He's using a little-known statute, preying on the stereotype of the declining elderly. He's built a narrative. Your donations are impulsive. Your friend, Dr. Evans, provided a vague letter about age-related forgetfulness, based on you missing a single lunch date. It's a house of cards, Anna said, her voice calm and authoritative, but a persuasive one. To dismantle it, we need to attack its foundations. I have already prepared a full battery of cognitive tests for you. The results are stellar. I will testify that you show zero signs of cognitive decline. We will have Dr. Evans's medical license reviewed for ethics violations. This is the counterattack, Benjamin nodded. Now for the main assault. The house? The eviction is our most powerful move, I said. He's on a month-to-month lease. We serve a 30-day notice for owner move-in. It's clean, legal, and it will shatter his sense of control. A brilliant psychological play, Benjamin agreed. While he's fighting you for control of your money, you're demonstrating that you control the roof over his head. We move on 3 fronts simultaneously, I outlined, the old thrill of strategy coursing through me. Anna, you handle the medical and reputational counteroffensive. Benjamin, you bring the full weight of the law down on First Mercantile. I want the board terrified. Threaten lawsuits that will make headlines. And I will personally handle the eviction. The next 48 hours were a whirlwind of quiet, precise action. I was a ghost in the machine of my own life. My first stop was a credit union across town, where my name and the cash from my safe opened doors that First Mercantile had slammed shut. I had new accounts, new cards, a new financial base of operations. Then from a payphone a relic. I was grateful still existed. I called the number for Crestview Properties manager. This is Arthur Lockwood, I said, my voice firm. I am the owner of the property at 1847 Maple Drive. I am terminating the tenancy of the current occupants, Mark and Lisa Lockwood, effective immediately. Serve the notice today. Of course, Mr. Lockwood, the efficient voice replied. It will be done. The die was cast. While I waited for the explosion, Benjamin went to work. His letters to First Mercantile were not requests. They were declarations of war. He outlined the monumental damages we would seek for defamation, breach of fiduciary duty, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. He CC'd every relevant financial regulatory body. The temporary freeze lasted a total of 5 days. The call from a panicked bank president came on the 6th morning, full of groveling apologies. The petition had been re-evaluated and rescinded. My accounts were restored, with a significant goodwill deposit. The bank manager who had processed Mark's request, an old fraternity brother, was fired and reported to the authorities. I had my money back. But the true battle, the one for the soul of my family, was just beginning. The eviction notice arrived at Mark's house by certified mail. I knew the moment he saw it, because my phone lit up like a Christmas tree. Call after call. I let it ring out 10 times before answering. His voice was a shattered thing, all panic and disbelief. Father, what is this? This has to be a mistake. This is our home. It is a notice to vacate, Mark. The owner is moving in, I said, my voice calm. Vacate in 30 days? This is insane. I'll fight this. I'll get a lawyer. On what grounds? I asked, my tone almost conversational. The owner is exercising a legal right. I'm sure your lawyer will be happy to take your money. The silence on the other end was profound. I could hear the gears turning, grinding to a horrifying halt. The realization was a physical thing. You, he stammered. Crestview. It's you? I am the owner of 1847 Maple Drive, I confirmed, my voice devoid of emotion. I have been since I bought it as an investment 4 years ago. The great deal you negotiated was with me? A raw, guttural sound escaped him. You've been watching us? Letting us live here. This whole time? I was providing for my son, I corrected him. A kindness you interpreted as a weakness. You lived in my house while you plotted to steal my life? The lease is terminated. This is about the money. He screamed, his composure gone. I could hear Lisa crying in the background. This is your pathetic revenge. No, Mark, I said, my voice dropping to a whisper that carried immense weight. This is not revenge. This is consequence. You overreached. You built your castle on my land. You tried to make me a pauper. You failed to understand that I was the one who held the deed to your entire world. You have 30 days. I suggest you use them to find a new foundation. I ended the call. The weeks that followed were a brutal demonstration of collapse. Mark tried every tactic. He sent Lisa, tearful and pleading, to my doorstep. He had his lawyer send threatening letters that Benjamin shredded with a scoff. He showed up at my house, wild-eyed, and was turned away by a security guard I had hired. You're destroying my family, he yelled from the curb. You lit the fuse on the bomb that destroyed it, I said, closing the door. I was an immovable object, a force of nature. I felt a profound and chilling disconnection. This was no longer my son. This was an adversary. As the eviction date neared, Benjamin came to me with the final piece. First Mercantile has completed its investigation, he said, his expression grim. They are prepared to press criminal charges against Mark for fraud and filing a false instrument. The DA is interested. It's a solid case. He's facing 1 to 3 years in state prison. I looked out my window at the quiet, tree-lined street I called home. The image of my son in a prison jumpsuit, his life broken, was a fate I could not stomach. No, I said after a long silence. Arthur, he deserves to live with the weight of what he's done, I interrupted. But destroying him helps no one. Let the threat of prosecution be the shadow that follows him for the rest of his life. Let him know, every day, how close he came to losing everything. That is a prison without bars. Benjamin nodded slowly. As you wish. On the 1st of the month, they moved out. I did not go to watch. The property manager confirmed it. The house was empty. A week later, a handwritten letter arrived. The script was shaky. Father, we're in a small apartment on the other side of town. The walls are thin. Lisa is sitting with her sister. She says she can't look at me. I see it now. I was so blind. I thought I was being strong, taking control. I was just a thief, trying to rob the man who gave me everything. I thought the money was the power. I never saw that the real power was in the mind that built it all. You were the architect, and I was just kicking at the walls. I'm sorry. For everything. Mark. I read the letter once, then carefully folded it and placed it in the safe, next to the hard drive that held the blueprints of my victory. There was no sense of triumph, only a vast, hollow emptiness where a father's heart should be. I had won. I had defended my empire, proven my competence, and established my authority. I had saved my fortune. But as I stood alone in the silence of my large, empty house, a king without an heir, I understood the ultimate cost. I had won the war, but I had lost my son. And in the quiet of the night, the victory felt as hollow as the house I lived in. If this story of betrayal, consequences, and the harsh price of power resonated with you, if it made you think about the lines between family and fairness, then do us a favor. Hit that like button, it truly helps the channel. And make sure to subscribe to Wines of Thought. We bring you powerful, thought-provoking stories every week that explore the deep, and often dark, corners of human nature. What would you have done in Arthur's place? Could you have been that strong? Or would you have forgiven your son? Let us know your honest thoughts in the comments below. Your perspective is what makes this community so valuable. Thanks for watching.